In this video, we will discuss the play clock, timeouts, and the delay of game. It is very important for back judges to know the play clock rules. If you run this position, spend extra time getting to know these rules. There are two different play clock times used, a 40-second and a 25-second. A 40-second play clock is used after the end of a regular play. This would be any play that ends either in bounds or out of bounds or through an incomplete pass. We also use a 40-second play clock if the defense causes a delay in the action in which the clock is stopped. This includes if they have an injury in which an official's timeout is taken, if they are sent off for an equipment issue, such as not having a mouthpiece in or not having the knees covered with a knee pad, or if they commit a penalty. It doesn't matter if the game clock is running or not, so this can be a big advantage if Team A is trying to run the clock out at the end of a half. Finally, we also use a 40-second clock if we have a change of possession that goes from Team A to Team B and back to Team A. So for example, if Team A throws an interception and during the return Team B fumbles the ball and Team A recovers. In this particular situation, we would have a first down for Team A no matter where the ball is next spotted, and the play clock will start at 40 seconds at the end of the play. A 40-second play clock always starts at the end of the previous play during a normal play. There will be a short time interval between the end of the play and the start of the play clock. This should be around 5 to 6 seconds at the most. When we use a 40-second play clock, the referee does not whistle the ball ready for play. The ball is considered ready once the official has placed the ball and backed out of the way. If we have a situation in which the ball is not ready within 15 seconds of the start of the play clock should be stopped. An example of this would be if there is a long incomplete pass and it takes a long time to get the ball replaced by a ball boy. If this happens, the play clock will be set to 25 seconds and will start once the ball is ready for play. The back judge should signal that he needs a 25-second play clock by pumping one hand in the air. The referee should signal back and then chop the play in once the ball is set. Once the referee chops, the back judge should start the new 25-second clock. 25-second play clock should almost always be started with the whistle of the referee. The only exception to this is if a 40-second play clock is reset to 25 seconds because of a delay in getting the ball ready for play. This includes the following: prior to a try, starting a new period or overtime series, after administration of an inadvertent whistle, following either a team charge timeout or official's timeout. This would include before kickoff after a try or safety, after administration for an offensive penalty, injury, or equipment issue, or after an official coaches conference. And finally, following a legal kick in which a new series is awarded. Every team has 3 timeouts for each half. Timeouts cannot carry over into a new half or overtime. Timeouts are 1 minute in length. The back judge is responsible for timing. When there are 15 seconds remaining, the back judge should notify the other officials. The referee will blow the whistle and the wing officials will make their way towards the team huddles to let them know the ball is coming ready to play. In order to shorten a timeout, both teams must be ready to play. Both teams are entitled to use the full length of the timeout, even if one of the teams are ready to play. Once a team has ran out of timeouts, they cannot buy another one. If one is granted accidentally by an official, once the mistake is discovered, the team should be notified and told to return to the field to play immediately. If a coach requests a conference to discuss an interpretation of a rule and the official does not overturn the call, a timeout is charged to the team. If the team has ran out of timeouts, the team is penalized with a delay of game penalty. So even if the team is out of timeouts, they can still request and be granted a conference. These conferences can only be used to discuss the interpretation or application of rules. It cannot be used to discuss overturning a judgment call by an official. So for example, if we had a holding call behind the line of scrimmage and we accidentally enforced the penalty from the spot of the foul, the coach could request the conference to discuss that we enforced from the wrong spot. If we realize our mistake and correct it, we would not charge the timeout. The head coach can call timeouts or designate another coach to call them. I don't recommend asking if he has designated another coach to call timeouts, as this means the head coach cannot call them himself. The only time I have seen this as being necessary is when the head coach was coaching from the booth. Also, any player on the field can request a timeout. If we have overtime, timeouts from regulation cannot carry over into the overtime period. Each team has one timeout per overtime period. An overtime period consists of a possession for both Team A and Team B. This means that if a timeout is taken by Team A when they have the ball, they will not be able to take one when Team B has the ball. If a team has to make a decision on penalty enforcement, a timeout cannot be granted until this is done. This prevents a team from taking advantage of knowing what the next play situation will be coming out of the timeout. Timeouts can be taken consecutively by either team during a dead ball period. This means, technically, we could have all 6 timeouts taken back to back. One of the most important aspects of a timeout is they cannot be used to buy a player back in. So if a player either has to leave the game because of an equipment issue, a helmet coming off, or an injury, they cannot come back in if the team takes a timeout. They are still required to sit out the one play. The only exception to sitting out a play is if the player is sent out at the end of the half. It is the official's duty to call for a timeout if they see an injured player who cannot participate. While we don't want to send out a player who isn't injured, it is always best to err on the side of caution when dealing with injuries. If a player won't respond to questions when checking on them, it's best to call an official's timeout, have them checked on by a trainer or coach. While an injured player is being tended to on the field, the team is allowed to have a conference outside of the 9-yard marks. This can take place until the injured player can be moved from the field of play. Concussions are incredibly important to identify. The well-being of the student athlete is the most important thing when it comes to sports. If at any time an official suspects a player has suffered a concussion, he needs to notify the head coach. This should always be done with another official present. Each official must take the NFHS concussion course each year so they can help identify concussions. A player is not required to have written permission from a doctor to return to the game. However, if you still suspect that a player has a concussion, you may send him out again and tell the coach you still think the player has a concussion. Always err on the side of caution when dealing with concussions. Finally, if a player is actively bleeding, has an open wound, or has blood on the uniform or body, the player must be sent off for at least one play or until the problem has been corrected. In order to return, the bleeding must be stopped, the wound covered, or the uniform properly cleaned. The uniform does not have to be spotless. As long as the coach confirms that it was clean, that's all we need. Conferences are meetings between players and coaches during a timeout. There are 2 different conferences, ones that take place between the 9-yard marks, the middle of the field, and ones that take place between the 9-yard marks and the sideline. If a conference is held in the middle of the field, only one coach and 11 players can participate. If the players come to the sideline, any number of coaches and the whole team can participate. Only one type of conference can take place, so we can't have a coach come to the middle of the field with some of the players and then the rest of the players go to the sideline. A conference can take place during any media timeouts, during water breaks for heat timeouts, in between periods, or following scores, including tries, field goals, and safeties. Delay of game is a dead ball foul that has a 5-yard penalty. There are a few types of delay of games. The most common is when the play clock runs out. The back judge should raise his hand in the air when there is 10 seconds remaining on the play clock and keep it up until the clock runs out. Do not throw the flag if your hand has not been up for a full 10 seconds, since coaches will use this to time their plays. If the clock reaches 0 but the player is about to go off, it's okay to wait and give an extra second to let the snap occur, but always be consistent with this. If a player continues to run with the ball unnecessarily after the play is dead, this is also considered a delay. An example of this would be after a fair catch and the receiver takes off running. Players who are too slow in umpiring are also delaying the game. We see this more often towards the end of halves. We are best served to use preventive officiating here. Warn both the players and the head coaches before throwing this flag. We can always stop the clock to give this warning. Teams cannot free kick or snap a ball before it's marked ready for play. Again, preventive officiating can be used to help prevent this. If a ball is on the ground before a scrimmage play, but the referee hasn't blown ready for play, the umpire should stand over or near the ball and communicate with the snapper to wait on the referee. Same with a free kick. The back judge should tell the kicker to wait on the referee's whistle before kicking the ball. If a coach asks for a referee-coach conference and a call is not changed and the team does not have any remaining timeouts, there will be a 5-yard penalty assessed. This allows coaches the opportunity to discuss issues with the referee even without any timeouts. Of course, if a coach is trying to use this to conserve time illegally, we can refuse the request. Also, we should note a difference between when a coach is asking for a conference and when they want an explanation. Explaining certain calls can help keep a good working relationship with coaches. This doesn't necessarily mean we do this immediately and interrupt the flow of the game. We can either relay information to wings through O2O communication, or we can tell the coach we will explain it to them at the next break. We can use the delay of game as well whenever a team is using any type of conduct that delays the game in a way not intended by the rules. If at any time during a game a team refuses to participate, the referee will instruct the team to play. If after 2 minutes the team still does not, the game will be forfeited. If this situation occurs, typically there's been many issues and it will need to be addressed with the district coordinator. After halftime, teams must be back on the field before the clock runs out. If not, the head coach will be assessed an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. The rulebook does not define how many players must be back on the field, so for our purposes, as long as a player is out there, we're good. We cannot have the 3-minute warm-up period start until both teams are on the field. If before a game, both teams are refusing to run onto the field, the home team will be instructed to enter the field first. Game management is responsible for making sure the field is clear to start each half. It's common to have fans on the field before the game and during halftime. As long as the home team is making an effort to clear the field, we shouldn't penalize them. We want to do everything in our effort to avoid this delay of game penalty. Only use this if you address the problem with the designated rep and the coach and nobody makes any attempt to clear the field. Finally, if at any point the officials believe a team is illegally conserving or wasting time, the referee can choose to start the clock on the ready or the snap to correct it. Again, a warning should be given to a coach first and only be used once this is done. The more we use preventive officiating, the better games we'll have.